Well, veterans make up about 7% of the U.S. population. These men and women have volunteered to take up arms and lean into harm's way to serve their country. Yet the unique structure of the military presents some distinct challenges for its members, particularly when transitioning back into the structure of civilian life. Behaviors have been conditioned and outlooks have been shaped by the military experience. Remember, we take our nations young and we train them and we place them into foreign and unpredictable environments, and we give them immense responsibilities, often for the lives of others, and they remarkably succeed at these, sometimes at great expense to themselves. Later, we bring them back and we reintegrate them back into society, and it is critical that we get this step right if we are to continue to go to American families and ask them for their sons and daughters or their husbands or wives or moms or dads, and we place them into these extraordinary conditions, and oftentimes these are simply not the same people that come back as when they left. And it is for this reason that we get right, that we make right, veterans' relationship to justice. And how did PTSD contribute to your homelessness?
Anger. Not being able to deal with people. You're very short-fused. Real short-fused. So you what's what I'm looking for? You don't tolerate people's bullshit at all. You don't tolerate the way people treat other people. Because you know what it's like to be treated bad. You know what it's like to be treated differently. And you don't deal with that very well. And the mood swings, the sleeplessness, your mind, sometimes, you know how it is when you can drive your car through a state, and sometimes when you leave that state, if you look at your map or your GPS, it's still in that state. It hadn't caught up with you yet. In a sense, sometimes your mind is like that. Even though you left the military, it's still in it sometimes. Because I still have the dreams. Well, we used to run a camp at Camp Unafraid. We had a POW camp there. So our job was to break people. And yes, we were good at it. We were in state platoon at the time, so our job was to do that. We got pretty good at it. But when it's your turn, it's a different story. Because then you see the horror that you're putting on someone else. And that little bit of conditioning, they call it conditioning. But when you leave, there's something stuck there. Not everything goes with you. Everywhere you go, you leave a little bit of yourself somewhere. There's something either added or something left behind. So you have to figure out in your mind what's worth leaving and what's worth keeping. And your trust in people is real short because you don't trust anybody. Because you've been taught not to trust the enemy. You've been taught you don't know who the enemy is. So you're always on guard. You're always defensive. And that does not work well for your family sometimes because they can't live with you. They can't deal with what you do. You know, because I've had relationships and the women that I deal with, I can't deal with you. I can't live with your attitude. I can't live with you're up at night walking the door like you're looking for somebody. Or you're just outbursts of anger. These are the things you have to deal with day in and day out. But the things that they think, well, okay, appeal will settle. And when they ask you what is wrong or what happened, and when you tell them what went on in your military career, oh, we got to research it, and we gave a class on ordnance. You know, not to kick, not to pick up. Right. And you know, you always got somebody kicking, picking up. So 4 or 5 guys went out there kicking. And they kicked one and it exploded. And they put them in the ammo crate box. They fit in there. One box.
Wow.
They fit in there. And I guess it was 1 or 2 boxes. It may have been 2 or 3. But the point is that it happened. And there's a lot in the military that they say don't happen, but it does.
I think there's several different kinds of it. There's obviously when you go to war, the hypervigilance as they call it. So you're alert all the time. You're always aware of things around you. I was very much like that, and it got pretty bad to the point where I didn't want to go out in public. I didn't want to be around people just because it's easier to just stay at home and not have to be looking around because you kind of can't help it at that point. But I found I was getting a lot of social anxiety when I'd go out in public places. I was always watching everybody, the hypervigilance thing. So that's how it affected me, and I started secluding socially. And, the family wants to get out, so when I have a lot of social anxiety, I'd rather just stay in. So a lot of times my wife and daughter were doing things on their own, and I was just opting to stay home. So there's that. And of course I think there's different types of PTSD, the hypervigilance from going to war. If you've seen a lot of messed up things, you could probably have the nightmares, that type of thing. But I also think there's a certain just stress level being in the infantry, even being in a garrison unit, because you're expected to perform top notch 24/7 at all times. And when you're going 100 miles an hour and you never get to slow down, that changes you. It ages you. It gets you in a certain mindset, and it's hard to ramp that down when you go back into civilian life. So I think PTSD is a broad range of things, and not just, I went to war and I saw some bad things. I think it's intense stress for long periods of time that wear on the body and the mind. And me and somebody else had to go clean up his apartment. Not obviously the hazmat team or whatever had already gone in and got the gory stuff, but all of his stuff. And I mean, there was still a bullet hole in the wall where it left his head and went into the room or went into the wall. And yeah, you're having to clean out all his personal items, and it's just kind of like, ugh. And you knew the guy, you worked with, you saw him every day. And yeah, and that happens, and it's just kind of like, well, go figure it out, go deal with it. And also getting back to the PTSD, I think a lot of people, if things have happened, you've engaged in combat, whatever happened, and you come back, and I think there's a lot of times where people are like, well, why did I go through all that? What was the purpose of that?